Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. The Eurozone and the United States are copying the policies of Japan to address this crisis. Not just this crisis, but almost any crisis. And there are significant problems and significant issues in doing that. The first one is we need to understand that the United States and the Eurozone have absolutely nothing to do with Japan in terms of the level of discipline of the labor force, in terms of the tightly knit industrial and government complex, in terms of the structure of the business fabric, and in terms of demographics. All of those factors are very, very important, and it's very, very dangerous to think that nothing will happen if we do exactly the same as Japan did when none of those factors are similar either in the United States or in the Eurozone. Why should we be concerned? We should be concerned because the Japanese economy, at least, is an economy that saves a lot in foreign exchange, that keeps its currency relatively stable. But we also have to understand that decades of massive government plans and stimulus spending plus central bank liquidity injections and rate cuts, all of those, what they have created is a chain of malinvestment that is a huge transfer of wealth from savers and real wages to the indebted and to government. What always happens is that government talks about spending and stimulating the economy. The economy does not get stimulated. What ends up happening is that debt rises further, productivity growth is very poor, real wages are very weak. All of those factors create an economy that ends up being zombified. Governments and central banks don't pay attention to malinvestment. They think that injecting liquidity and lowering rates will drive growth and will drive higher investment. However, what ends up happening is that it comes from a problem of diagnosis. When governments diagnose the issues of the economy always as demand problems, the level of stimulus that they're implementing is addressing a wrong issue. Let's start with that. If you think that today's problem is a demand problem and you massively incentivize demand, the little demand that you will be actually incentivizing will go fundamentally to the sectors that already have overcapacity and high debt. Furthermore, if government spending is financed through huge liquidity injections and massive rate cuts, what you end up doing is incentivizing overspending and generating further issues of confidence. You generate massive levels of malinvestment on one side, and on the other side, you finance current spending. All those two factors generate weaker productivity growth, weaker real wages, and a situation that leads to stagnation. If you add to that a fiscal policy that is penalizing high productivity and the parts of the economy that actually could deliver an improvement in the real wages and an improvement in growth, what you create is an entire economic system that just rises in indebtedness with weak productivity growth, with weak real wages, and with weak investment. It is not a positive outcome. Many economists say, well, unemployment is low. Why do you care about debt? Well, all those factors that I mentioned before, productivity growth, real wages, and investment, are a derivative of the malinvestment incentivized by massive demand-side policies. You see, governments will always consider that the stimulus plans, that when they don't work, is because they haven't done enough. You will always hear the same things. It wasn't enough, it could have been worse, let's repeat. It wasn't enough, it could have been worse, let's repeat. And what you end up doing is creating huge slack in the economy And each time that you get into a crisis, the recovery is weaker. We cannot copy the example of Japan. We should not copy the example of Japan, because if the problems of real wage growth and productivity growth and poor investment are copied in the United States and the Eurozone, what will end up happening for sure is massive social unrest, because the level of discipline and the level of acceptance of whatever governments do at any cost that many Japanese workers have is not the same in our countries. It is absolutely imperative that governments start to understand overcapacity, malinvestment, and the risk of huge transfers of wealth from savers and real wages to the indebted, in order to understand that you cannot simply try to stimulate growth by injecting more debt and creating further imbalances. Thank you very much. Thank you for following this YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and keep defending freedom. Thank you very much.